All right, for some reason my slides, I didn't realize this. My slides still have Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4. I think in class I used to always say that digestion and absorption was like a Shakespearean play, right? And different things happen in different locations. Act 1 really is the mouth, right? When you eat foods, especially foods that are hard to eat, not crackers and cookies and soda, but nuts and seeds and beef and fatty foods, you're not just making food smaller. Of course, you want to do that. You want to make them small enough to be swallowed. You want to make them small enough so your enzymes don't work as hard. But you're also cracking open things that are pretty much indestructible, like an almond or a raisin or sunflower seeds, and you're exposing the insides. That's where all the protein and the fat is. Plant material that is fiber based on the outside, seeds, nuts, grapes, raisins, apple skin. That's all fiber. It's dietary fiber. We'll cover that in chapter 4. It's for all practical purposes indestructible. When we chew those kind of foods, we open them up. We free up the insides to be accessed by, well, eventually bile for fat and our digestive enzymes. Okay. The other thing that happens in the mouth is saliva, right? We are lubricating we're lubricating our food with saliva. We're mixing it. Saliva does have enzymes. It has a mucus. And so when we swallow this product that's now a chewed up thing, we call it a bolus. And that will start to go down our esophagus. And I have this little slide here. It goes past this amazing flap called the epiglottis. And the reason why it's amazing is it keeps you alive because it covers the windpipe when you swallow. You want food to go down the esophagus, not into your lungs. And if you think about it, when do people have a choking event? Talking and eating. The poor epiglottis doesn't know what to do. Do I let wind flow through the windpipe for speaking? Or do I go to swallow? And that's typically when people have their choking events. All right, so as soon as you can get into the esophagus, a whole new process takes place in the digestive tract. One part is called segmentation. All the tubes of the GI tract are actually ringed pipes they are pipes with ringed muscles. Imagine little rings of muscles that are squeezing, kind of like piano keys when somebody races their hands across a piano key. Or the tube that leaves a washing machine. It has the little rings on it, so water can kind of work its way up and into the waste area. Those are squeezing, and they're pushing food in one direction, onward, if you will. That's actually called peristalsis. And it's a wave-like contraction where the esophagus, the small intestine, the large intestine, these tubes with weak muscles in a wave-like manner move the thing, the food, the whatever it is, onward. And because they're ring-like, they kind of cut food in half a little bit. Imagine a meatball going down the esophagus, if you could swallow one, but what ends up at the stomach are little baby meatballs. It's another way in which we make bigger stuff, smaller stuff. All those tubes are segmented with muscles, and peristalsis is that process of moving foods along. Foods will end up in the stomach eventually. They'll get through a sphincter. You don't need to know it. It's called the gastroesophageal sphincter. And when it gets into the stomach, crazy things happen. The stomach is like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That used to be the old commercial, which, by the way, means that people are doing like insane things in Vegas, right? It's a very acidic location. So there's different kinds of cells that line the stomach wall. Some make mucus, which acts as a barrier for the wall, kind of like a defense shield. And some cells make acid, very acidic acid, might I add. And what will happen is, as the stomach receives the food, it'll start to kind of squeeze and push and mash and take whatever you ate and make it into a watery paste. Right? We call that chyme. Eventually, what you ate becomes a chyme. It's an acidic, meatball, oatmeal looking stuff. It's now been, peanuts have been made into peanut butter. Beef has become like a mashed up product. And is it fully digested? No, but it's aggressively has been digested. Now, another thing that occurs in the stomach is, food will go in mixed, but some things will start to separate out, like fat. Fat will eventually float to the top in the stomach because fat floats. And the acid that the stomach makes is inside a product called gastric juice. So it's actually a juice. It's an acidic fluid. And so as the mucus protects itself from the acidic fluid, the gastric juice, this kind of soupy, mushy chyme stuff starts to kind of separate into two different parts. You kind of have the acidic chyme and the fat that floats on top. If I can get this to work. How acidic is gastric juice? It's very acidic. This is your standard pH scale. Here's battery acid. It's not that acidic. Here's lye. They literally use lye to just, you can actually destroy a human body using lye. I believe the state of Florida has they're one of the few states in the union that can cremate using chemicals, and I believe they use lye to do it. Water is pH 7. Saliva is slightly acidic. Blood can be acidic or basic. There's baking soda, there's toothpaste, there's coffee, there's tomato juice, there's orange juice. You can clean the terminals of your battery in your car using orange juice or soda. That's how acidic it is. Lemon juice or lime juice, you can cook raw food and make a ceviche, right? That's how acidic that is. There's gastric juice. It's pretty acidic. And you would think that the acidity is to destroy this and kill that. No, it's really not designed to kill anything. What the acidity is actually doing is uncoiling some stuff, not destroy, uncoil. And the acidity of gastric juice is really focused on one element only, dietary protein. It can affect the fat, that's floating. Sugars are actually pretty resilient to acid, believe it or not. But protein is more delicate than you think it is. I know that steak and beef and jerky and all that looks pretty like hardcore stuff. But when you expose it to acid, proteins are actually shaped molecules, almost like Lego sets, like a ball of yarn. And when you expose protein to acid, base, heat, shaking, anything, you will uncoil it. Here's egg, that's in its raw form. What, you put in a pan with heat, a minute? And how do you get this? Because all these egg BBs uncoil, make long egg chains, if you will, of protein, and they form a matrix. We can't do it with heat. We do it with acid. The acid that we make is stomach acid or gastric acid. It's actually hydrogen chloride, very standard acid in the chemistry class. Yes, it would eat the lining of your stomach if it could. That's why we make mucus. Once you uncoil, then you can chop. And who does the chopping? An enzyme. And the enzyme is called pepsin. Pepsin is a very aggressive enzyme that breaks down proteins. So we would call it a protease. Enzymes that break down fat are called lipases. Enzymes that break down carbohydrate are called carbohydrases. This protease, pepsin, is very aggressive. In fact, it's not made as pepsin. It's actually made as pepsinogen. It's inactively made when it's made by stomach cells. And when it's released into the stomach cavity to start chopping up these strands of protein, the acid level or nature of the gastric juice converts the pepsinogen to pepsin, and it starts doing its chopping. And that's what's going on in the stomach. We are uncoiling the proteins, killing them, if you will. But again, not nuking them, just uncoiling them and then chopping them up. We do this to food proteins, which is good for digestion, and we do this to viral and bacterial proteins, which is good for protecting ourselves. If you want to infect a human from food, you have to survive the pH of the stomach.